over-the-top antics. There was a steady energy about Dillon that called to me. I used to think he could be in the middle of a tornado and Dillon would be standing there with one hand in his pocket, unhurried and not at all worried. It was Dillon's turn to walk down the aisle, and as he passed, I soaked him in. It wasn't often I allowed myself to stare at him. I'd done enough of that growing up. His gaze flickered over to me, and for one delicious, delirious moment, we connected, and time stood still. Just as quickly, he jerked his eyes away, breaking the moment. I didn't miss the way his jaw clenched and his hands curled into fists. Tears filled my eyes. While everyone probably thought I was crying over the sweetest wedding in decades, my tears had more to do with a very different emotion. Hate. Dillon hated me, and that straight gutted me. The wedding was beautiful and perfect, of course, and I did my best to focus on the bride and groom, not on the groomsmen standing at the end of the line of tuxedoed men, the one I worried I might still have feelings for, the one I was pretty sure I'd always have feelings for. At the reception, I told myself to stick it out, no matter how awkward it might be, dodging Dillon at every turn. I couldn't see him and not fall apart, nor could I bail on this wedding. The Cunninghams had been my parents' best friends, along with being next-door neighbors. It would be horribly uncouth of me to leave early. "We need to go to the studio," Ray, the woman Dalton had just started dating, exclaimed, panic bleeding into her voice. Dalton jumped up from the round table we were all sitting at while we took a break from dancing and assured her they'd go. "Let me find Dillon and tell him he'll need to find another ride home." Dalton kissed Ray and rushed off. I sucked in a breath and held it as an idea percolated in my brain. I'd have to be bold to take that idea and put it into action, though. It would take girding my loins and going into battle with the enemy. It would take a confidence I might have possessed a few years ago, but which had been drained out of me with each year that passed while I still lived in the same town with no career and no relationship. Nothing to say, "Here stands Sophia, and isn't she amazing?" I was the proverbial fish flip-flopping on the banks of the river, never getting anywhere because it belonged in the water. I sighed as the image took root in my mind. I was a stinky fish flip-flopping through life and not getting anywhere. I didn't want to be a stinky fish. The voice of my college roommate Lauren filled my head. "You need to go talk to this Dillon guy. He clearly messed you up. You need closure before you can move on with your life." I dismissed that advice at the time. After all, she was just a psychology major, not an actual psychologist. What did she know? But that suggestion had embedded itself in my brain, and it wouldn't let go. I feared she was right. "No time like the present," I muttered to myself, standing up before I could talk myself out of this crazy idea. I'd been reading another self-help book, and it said to always grab opportunities with both hands. Second-guessing was for people staying in the slow lane of life. This stinky fish was about to shove it into fourth gear, grab opportunity with my gills, and pull into the fast lane. It was an odd visual, but motivating nonetheless. It didn't take long to find Dillon in the crowd. My body came equipped with Dillon radar, and always had. Even when we were little, biking down the street with all the other neighborhood kids, I always knew exactly where he was. Could humans be born with magnets inside of them, linking them to other people whether they liked it or not? I watched Dalton whisper to Dillon beneath the hundreds of tiny white lights that illuminated the reception, and then he took off. Dillon ran a hand through his thick hair.